What's up, guys? I wanted to make a video today what I think is the easiest way to replace the Lifesavers from Floatlife. Now, this isn't going to be an easy process, but to me, these are steps that I found easier. Now, they may not be the least amount of steps, but I find it the easiest. So I know there may be shorter ways, but trust me, I went the short ways and ended up being longer. So I wanted to make a video showing you guys tips and tricks that I learned along the way. And hey, there may be better ways, but this is the way I do it. So I want to go over the tools that we're going to need. Your number one tool to take off most of the screws is going to be a T25. Now you will see me use a battery operated driver right here just to make it quicker. So this is going to take apart most of your screws. Now when we get to the axle bolts, this is when you're going to want a bit. You're going to want a TP45 bit. Make sure it's a Torx Plus. It's a little bit different on the ends. You don't want to strip those bolts. And the most important tool to go with that, I believe, is going to be a torque driver. You want to set the torque to that to 35 Newton meters. You don't want to just guess it by hand and go too hard and He-Man it and break your axle bolts, strip them. So I would recommend getting one of these. I got this for under 30 bucks on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description to some of the tools I use during this process. And you're going to want some blocks to protect that motor cable. It could be any size blocks, preferably a 2x4, two of them. I have two different sizes here. I just didn't want to go cut them. It's just what I found lying around at the moment. And to break the bead, there's people that have bead breakers. I found these 20 bucks, the 12-inch versions. You could get whatever you want to break the bead. I found this easier, so that's the reason why I'm going to show it in this video. And then to take out the air, you could just take out the air with anything. You could use your finger or whatever, but I'm going to use a valve stem remover only because I'm going to put some of this leftover slime in here. I did remove a tire a couple weeks ago, and I knew this was coming. But anyways, the Lifesavers got lost in the mail, long story short. And very important for the axle bolts, you're going to want some thread locker. It doesn't have to be this brand. You could be fancy and get thread Loctite, whatever you guys want. Make sure you get the blue thread locker. You don't want the red. The red's possibly going to be stuck in there a little, a little more than the blue when you get your next tire change. And then a pump for air, whatever pump you guys want. All right, let's get to it. Get your TP25 and we're going to move the 4 screws to remove the fender delete. Now just lift up on it. The handle may get in the way a little bit, but it should come right off. Next, we're gonna flip the OneWheel and we're gonna remove this front foot plate right here. There's gonna be 2 shorter screws right here. Just pay attention that the shorter ones are right here, and then there's gonna be 2 longer screws holding the foot pad at the end right here. Now these last 2 like to stay stuck. Just turn it upside down, they'll fall out. Got them both right here. Now we're gonna remove this motor cable right here. Just go counterclockwise with this locking nut and you'll feel it unlock. As soon as if it spins freely like that, you can go ahead and make that cable come loose. So maybe a pain in the butt a little bit, but it'll come loose. All right, so I turned it around where the motor cable right here that we just loosened is working towards me. Now there's gonna be 2 screws. It's gonna be hard to see right here through the camera, but this is the retainer. We're gonna wanna remove these 2 screws. On the other side, you might get a better look at it. We're gonna also wanna remove those 2 screws right there. And the clip comes right out. One thing I would suggest is making a mental note of where the wire goes into this block. There's a little groove cut out for it. Now this is the motor side right here that we just took off this cable. Just make a mental note that it does go in that groove, so when you put it together you don't pinch it. And on the other side of the OneWheel, there's also one for the battery, which, I mean, it's real hard to see. Now we finally got to the part that we're going to take out our axle bolts. This is where we're going to grab our TP45. And when you go in there, just make sure you go in there straight. It is going to take some force, but nothing crazy. And we're going to take out all 4 of them. Now grab the motor cable and just be careful with it. Make sure not to pinch it. And the board should just fall down. On the other side, you should be able to see the blocks. And just be careful. Your tire will come right out. Here's a closer look at the blocks. The flat side will go against the rails. And you'll be able to see right here where the motor cable kind of goes through. And that's where, whenever we put it back together, we just want to make sure we don't smash the cables. Now that we have the tire out, we want to let out the air. So go to the side with the valve stem. And this is where I said you can let it out however you need to. Your finger, anything. But I'm going to use the valve stem remover. Alright, now we got our clamps, so we're going to break the bead. We're going to put our clamps right on the tire above the rim. What I like to do is, start squeezing, and then I get the other set. I put it kind of next to it. And just make sure you don't hit that rim. Eventually, we'll break the bead. Alright, we broke the bead off this side. Now what I'm going to want to do is take it to the bottom side and break the bead down here. We can verify that the beads are both broken on this side, except now we need to break the bead on this side. So what I like to do here is I'll grab the rim on the side that's broken. We'll grab right here the rim, and we'll make sure this grabs the tire. All right. So you can see right here the rim. This side over here is tire. We're gonna do the same thing on this side. These little things like to come off. Rim, and then we're gonna get tire. So you guys can see right here. Now I'm gonna squeeze. So eventually it's off. All right, we got the bead broken on that side. Now let's break it on the other side. Same thing here on the rim on the side that you guys can't see. And then here we'll just get the tire right there. Heard the bead break. Alright, now we got the beads broken on both sides. You should be able to squeeze the tire like this. We'll go over here on the other side just to verify. Make sure. And we can squeeze the tire on both sides like this. Alright, now the hardest part. Let's get the F on the outside. Let's start it on the lip. Now I did boil these for about 20 minutes. I don't think it's going to help because I have not had any luck with these at all. And I did put gloves on to help me get a grip. Look, I'm having trouble even getting this started. Alright, so we'll just get it started. Go around a little bit. I don't think the boiling helped out at all. Alright, let's get the cable through. Now with our palms, let's stretch it. And while I'm stretching it, I'm trying to get it on the lip. Now with my fingers, I'm trying to push over the lip, my thumbs, I mean. Almost got it. Now this side. It's getting so close. All right. Almost there. All right, now you could just lift up a little bit. And there it is, there's one on. I can say boiling did help. Hopefully that can help you guys, because this is very hard right here. We'll just put the blocks, make sure the cable, this will just protect the cable, elevating it a little bit. That's what we want. Now let's try this again. We'll get it started, start moving on the side. And my palms are just trying to stretch it out. Right here, these edges are almost there. Whew, that was hard. The main thing is getting the lip over. Oh my God, I didn't think I was ever gonna be able to get them. I think boiling does help, but not by much. Sorry guys, my video got corrupted. I did put in the valve stem. If you didn't take yours out, don't worry about it. But regardless, the next part, you're gonna have to put air into the tire. This is where we're gonna set both beads. You're gonna listen for 2 pops. The second pop is gonna be the second bead. Mine hit around 20 PSI. Yours may be a little bit different. As soon as your second pop hits, we're gonna release the air and then set to the correct PSI that you want whenever you ride. Next, we're gonna take out the rail on the same side that we took out the motor cable. We're going to, in order to take out the rail, we're gonna have to take off the bottom plate, and then we're also gonna have to take off both foot pads, both of the foot pads on top. Now, I know there's some people that are able to get the blocks in there. It's a pain in the ass. Trust me, you can go ahead and try it if you want, but I would suggest taking off the rail. It's more steps, but you'll end up scratching your rim and scratching all kinds of shit in the process, so I recommend taking off the rail. Now, similar to the plate in the front and the rear, we're gonna take off now 4 short screws and 2 long ones in the back. Now this plate should just lift right up and you'll be good. Gonna wipe this down real quick. Next, I'm gonna take off the front foot pad. There's gonna be 2 screws right here, and then we turn it over, and there's gonna be 2 screws in the back. Now, first thing to do, don't forget, unplug the foot pad. Same thing as the motor pad. We're gonna go counterclockwise. Once that's out, just pull this out. Now let's take apart the 2 screws. Now we're gonna take apart these 2 screws. And the front foot pad should come right off. Now, same thing for the rear. We're gonna have these 2, and then we're gonna have these 2. Rear foot pad comes right off. Now, to take off the rail on the same side that we took out the cables, it's gonna be 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rail comes right off. We're gonna have the one with the handle in the front, so we'll just put it here. Now you'll notice this little notch. There's a little notch right here. That's gonna go on the axle. So we'll go ahead and see that whenever we put the wheel on. But that notch, just make sure it's face outside. Retainer holes are down, and we're gonna end up putting the wire through here. So kind of match it up. You'll kind of see where the holes are for the axle. Now what I do is I get 2 of the bolts and just barely put them in there, just to have them lined up. Where we took off the rail is going to be the side with the motor cable. Now, just so the camera gets a good angle, I'm going to end up turning this around. Alright, next we're going to try to line up the screws with these holes and get this notch inside. So the easiest way I found is to go a little bit at an angle, because when I bring it up, it's going to be at that angle. Once the notch is in there, the screws will line up perfect. And just kind of get in there hand tight if you can. And that's when we know we're in there. I'm not going to tighten them too much just by hand. Right here. I just want to go hand tight. Nothing crazy, because I'm going to take these screws right back out. So now I'm going to turn the board the other way. Just be careful. Next, I'm going to want to line up the cable. Just remember, the top side goes on top. You'll feel it plug in. Once you feel it plug in, just put the locking nut. And just give a little tug, make sure it's on there. Next, we're going to put on the rail. In order to put on the rail, we're going to have to put on the handle first. Just remember, the notch is lined up. The cable goes underneath. And we're going to get that lined up right where that cable goes inside here. Once it's inside the notch, you'll know it doesn't twist. We'll line up the rail. Just make sure it's the correct side. We'll line this up. It should line up perfectly. Once the block is inside with the wire, we should be able to guide our holes in. Just like earlier, I'm gonna end up getting the ratchet and just go finger tight. Once we got these tied down a little bit, we're going to want to adjust the rail. Make sure these two holes right here match up good. So we're going to put 2 screws in here. Next, we'll put in the 2 screws for the other part of the rail. Now I'm going to put on my front foot pad. Just make sure this wire doesn't get pinched anywhere. This is going to sit on there perfectly. And we're going to put 2 screws right here. Next, I'm going to want to flip it over. We're going to want to tighten it with the 2 screws right here. Now, most importantly, don't forget to plug in your front foot pad. Now, we're going to want to plug in our front foot pad with the notch down. We'll feel it plug in. And then with our locking nut, we're going to want to go clockwise. You'll feel a little lock, and that's when you know it's good. Give it a little tug, and we're good. All right, next we're gonna put on our front plate. You'll see these little grooves. They get right inside these little parts of the rails, and just go back, and just remember, your short screws are gonna be these 2, and these 2 right here are gonna be longer screws. Now next goes the rear foot pad, but I'm going to end up putting the aftermarket one that I have right here from Craft and Ride. So it's just the screws are going to be a little bit different in the back. Carefully turn it around. But because this is the aftermarket foot pad, it did come with certain screws. So if you're putting in a normal foot pad, just make sure you have your normal screws in here. Next, we're gonna put in our rear plate. Just sits on top. Short screws, 4 of them, 2 long screws on the bottom. Next, I want to focus on the axle bolts. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take out one at a time. As soon as we take out one, we're gonna put some thread locker on there. Just make sure it's the blue one, not the red, whatever brand. We're just gonna put a little bit on here, and then we're gonna tighten each one at 35 Newton meters. Once you hear that click, you know you're torqued. Now we're gonna do the same thing for the rest of the screws. We're gonna put thread locker and torque them down. Next, we're going to put in the retainers. You'll see this little cutout right here. It should lay flat. The flat side, the longer side, will go towards the rails. And if you did everything correctly, without any wire pinches, which you shouldn't have, it'll line up perfect with the holes, and we'll screw those in. Last thing left is going to be the 4 screws for our fender delete, and we should be good. This longer side will go towards the front right here, and we just go around the handle. Should fit in there perfect. We'll put in our 4 screws. All right, now we could turn it on. We shouldn't see any errors right here. We're gonna test out the sensors real quick. Go ahead, test one side, test the other, and we should be able to go out for a ride and check it out. Don't want to forget your valve stem cover right here. Don't want to hear shit, man. Don't forget that.